Welcome to Poochie's Place. Come on in, grab a drink, have a seat, chill out, relax with me, your host Dawn Monique, and me, your host Mo. Got your drink? All right, let's talk about it. Mommy. Today we have a special guest. Can you tell us who our special guest is? I can tell you who your special guest is, but you just call me Mommy. Did you hear that? I know you can't help yourself. I ain't mad at it. I like that you call me Mommy. She's 36. 37? I mean, I used to be like, Mommy. I can't help it. I know a lot of people don't call. I know people call in no sense and nothing. That don't mean I'm saying somebody love their mama less when I say this. I know people who call their mother by their first name and who have different greetings. But for me, I'm glad that you still say Mommy. Because if you call me Dawn, I'll be like, who is talking to? I have a hard time. I really do. I was doing it the other day, and I said it. I was like, I like it. But we have special guests in the building. We have Miss Arlene Ramsey in the building, Florida native, author, entrepreneur, and I see mediation. Yes. And you held a whole lot of different positions that I didn't know about.
A lot of times, yeah.
I swear I didn't. When I heard you say it, I was like, dang, I know you all these years.
Yes, yeah. And we met. I was still working in the international business when we met. And remember when I left and I started this city business and I watched.
You watched Andy.
I watched Andy.
I was telling her that. Yeah, I said, Arlene watched Andy for us when we went away that time. And I was like, you was just such a pleasant personality.
Yes, and Andy was a lovely dog.
Yeah, and I appreciate that kid. And he was so nice, and I was like, you can't see. You gotta know people when they watch your dog. It's like a kid.
Yes, they are. I took this here from Shannon.
You sure did. Yeah. I said, you never go ahead, girl. Yeah. And it's just been such a pleasure. It's always been a pleasure and to be in your presence.
Likewise. Thank you. And likewise.
So I appreciate that.
And thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And we're going to talk about this book. And Eclipse of School Torment. It's about bullying. This book is available on Amazon, so you got to make sure you go and you got to check it out. But I got you here to talk about this book because, of course, I knew you were writing when you wrote the book. You know, we talked about it and all those things. So I already knew that part about you, right?
Back in 2018.
Yes. So I knew that part about you.
Yeah.
So I recently saw this video, right, and it just told me, I said to myself, who's her? They didn't know who they was messing with. Okay, I gotta watch this video. And this is the left of school. But we're gonna talk about that video, but the education that went on in that video. And I said, I need her to come here. And I needed you to come here just to talk to, it's not just these kids, it's these adult bullies, like everything. So this book is in school, but some of you adults need to read this book. But I wanted my grandson, it's my grandson, remember my grandson, Dimitri? Now he's my number one. He used to be my one and only, now he's my number one. But I wanted him to be here to talk about this book because Dimitri is here to do a lot of stuff. First, say hi to the people.
Hi.
And tell who you are.
My name is Dimitri.
How old are you?
14 years old.
Okay. So Dimitri used to get into it a lot. And people who follow me on social media have seen you grow up, so they kind of know. Like, I used to be at your school all the time.
I lived there.
Yeah. So it was like so much. But he was just, and when I would go, at first I would go and I would say, I would think like, this boy's always fighting. What are you doing now, right? And then the more I went, I realized that this boy's just being a boy. He's just playing and having a good time. he's just doing boy things, right? But he's just a boy that's just don't want to stop playing. And that's the difference between that and bullying.
There's a big difference between being a play team and being a bully.
There's a big difference.
It's an intention.
Yes, and the labels that they put on people or kids is just some kids. Now I know that there's some. I call them the mean kids one day. We didn't use the term bullying. It was like the mean kids, and it was kind of like the playful kids. Put their asses in their place, and they leave you the hell alone. And you go about your damn business and you leave people alone. Right? And it's like you a bully? Okay. Well, you're gonna bully the wrong one.
Absolutely.
It's the video. Okay, but let's talk about your book.
Okay.
What made you want to write this book, first of all?
Great question. So I dealt with bullying, but like you said, back in my day, we didn't call it bullying. They were the mean group. So some of them were the kids that played too much. So the children that played too much, I don't consider that bullying. Because when you stand up for yourself, they leave you alone. They're like, okay, I'm not messing with this one. I don't want to get my butt whooped. I'm going to go on ahead. But then you have other groups of children that it didn't matter if you stood up for yourself, and it didn't matter if they got their butt whooped. They would still come back with their group and bully you or bother you with mobbing over and over again. And a lot of that happened because I was different. Not only that, my family, we were in a super of a building, and family decided to tell drug dealers they can no longer sell drugs in the building. Lord. And so, yes, and I'm younger than them. And so we were once friends with everybody in the community, and then we became, as a family, public enemy number one. And that contributed to a lot of the bullying that I've been through, because a lot of the kids I went to school with had relatives that weren't actually born. You know, so when they heard the last name, and now it trickles down to myself, and I had to make sure that I was dangerous because my sister wasn't a fighter, and so I couldn't take care of myself. What happened with her? So in that, it was relentless. And I think about myself. I fared well because I can handle myself. But when I think about the kids in today's time, where children are taking their lives, I said I got to step up and say something and provide some more insight to what's actually going on. And like in your grandson here, like you said, they put labels on him. It's disheartening that the administrators in the school don't take the time to get further insight on the children. I don't think we should be labeled like that, right? It's playful, and then sometimes, you don't know how to read the room just yet when you're And so the other thing is we don't know what kids are going through. Like I was an abused child at home. So children don't know that. If you come to school with certain energies, the way you look, who knows if a child your peers don't know how to take that. And next thing you know, they're either trying to make you have a good time, want you to laugh, and they're not telling you that because they're not themselves. They don't know how to express themselves. So they're just acting off of instinct. And then here we are with your grandson getting into problems, but that's not the bullying. That's more misunderstanding. Because as we can see, once there was some real heavy conversations going on to where he got an understanding, that's not.
Yes.
That's not a real bullying.
Absolutely. That's not a bullying. Because when you learn, and then when people teach you, I remember he was playing, he was young. I don't know if you remember this. I don't know how old he was when we went to Pennsylvania to the Pocono Troy's family. So Troy has a grandson. Troy's grandson is excellent in everything that he does, and he does karate. Oh. So he can do the karate very well, and along and a whole bunch of others. Football, everything he does is great.
Right.
But he has such a great spirit, like his character. Right. He was playing, he was little. They were little kids. Right. And he was a little kid running around hitting you. He's like, don't stop playing. I don't want to play. I don't play with you for 10 minutes. Leave me alone. And I'm watching him. And I'm like, oh, he's going to get him. I already know that he could fight. Right. Because he don't know, but I know. I don't follow the boy on social media, right? I said, oh, he's going to do good, right? I don't care, because he needs to be got. Now, I knew he was going to get him, but what I didn't know was he was going to come and tell me before he got him. He came to me, he said, I forgot what they call him. because they're so polite, but he just said, Dawn, Miss Dawn, he keeps bothering me. And I said to him, I said, well, make him stop. He said, okay. And I don't know, he put him in some kind of, all you heard was, ah! He never go back and mess with him again. He ain't beat him up. He ain't hurt him. He just let him know, with my permission, stop playing with me, little boy. I don't feel like playing with you. And he just scurried on his way and found somebody else to play with. But what he didn't do, play with him again.
Yeah. Now, see, I like that with self-defense. Although I didn't take that self-defense class, but I think what I've learned with self-defense is they tell you not to abuse your power.
Absolutely.
So,
and everybody doesn't know how to do that. Exactly. But even when it comes to, it's that, because some people got to be put in their place, but it's also just a verbal thing. It's just letting somebody know, whatever that looks like to you, to stop playing with you.
Absolutely.
And then they will. But if they don't, now that's when we're talking the bullying thing. Now it's a different ball game. Yeah. You want to keep coming for me after I asked you to. Now we bullying.
So with the children, and I'll say it elevates to their thought process when they become adults, right? There's a thing called conduct disorder in children. I forgot the other term, but it's when children are showing signs of antisocial personality. Right. If that child continues with that same personality, where they're not respecting boundaries, it doesn't matter if you speak up for yourself, they don't hear you. It is a different mentality that you're dealing with. So you have to, or adults should, handle children like that with the help of a therapist. Now, when I say with the help of a therapist, when you have a child that falls under that category, they don't need medication. It's not that something's wrong with them where medication will rewire them. It's the fact that this is how they were naturally wired to think. And they are more predatory in nature. So if they see a child that they think that they can assume power over, that's what they're going to do. And it's unpredictable because there's different, like the bully is going to pick on a kid that is weak, the weak link, supposedly. Sometimes children with those personalities pick on the kid that's the weak link. Or they may pick on the kid that more than likely is the child that's extremely smart. There's something different about that child that triggers them to interfere with that child. And they won't stop it until they see that it's damn near diminished. In that, I ask that schools we need more than guidance counselors in schools. What we need is therapists for children in schools that can help those children redirect that energy, right? Because if they don't redirect that energy, by the time they get to be 18 years old, they can be diagnosed with someone with narcissistic personality disorder, psychopath, or sociopathy, depending on what the diagnosis is. And some people have more than one diagnosis. It may be borderline personality disorder and psychopathy. We don't know until they get assessed by a psychologist, right? But until then,
I hope that's what they do in labels on there. I hope you don't just call somebody a bully, and then that's it. Like, okay, so what are we doing?
Right? Because I'm happy that you're saying that, right? This is why I hold adult counselors, right? Let's say the guidance counselor. Psychology plays a major role in life. And when you see things like this happening, and you see that children are not stopping what they're doing, in spite of what you put them on punishment, they get expelled from school. These types of things happen, and they still continue to do what they're doing. There should be something that goes on in the head of the adult in that school who says, we need more help.
There should be. Like, Dimitri had went through some classes there. Do you remember? I remember I told you one time, I said, why are you so small? Or why are you so angry? And he said, I'm not angry, I'm upset. I don't know which terms you use. But do you remember those different terms that you learned? You don't even know. But you're not even the same kid no more. What did you just grow out of it? How did you grow up? Why do you think you're not that same kid anymore?
So I'm watching them.
You said you what?
I don't play around as much as I used to.
Why? Because Why? Why don't you play around as much as you do? I can't hear you. No. Okay.
So is it like the classes you said he took some classes? What classes did he take?
When you learn how to control your anger, or what's the difference between being mad, angry, and upset? Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
Yeah, it wasn't classes.
Okay.
He went to a behavioral program.
Okay.
For in second grade.
Okay.
Yeah, because they let them a bully.
Yeah.
That's why. But it's okay because it worked.
So
I mean, it ain't work, but it helped him learn things.
Okay.
The lady.
The teacher?
No. The child service.
Okay.
He did.
Yes.
Okay. Who's in a school, urban school,
Okay.
with a lot of children who have those behaviors you just talked about, and they really have those behaviors because they live with those
People, right.
So this is their everyday thing, and no one else, yes, in them. Here's a mom who is a mom. She's going to come and call the rest of them.
They don't.
They don't, right. You can tell this mom because she cares about her kids. She has this. She's going to go with it. No, I'm not used to this. I want my kids to be this. Anything else? I let them get out of school.
I'm going to interrupt you, but when you said that, you shouldn't say that. Because if you got a pass for being a mom who didn't know, the other kids' parents could get the same pass. Not that they don't care, but that's what you said. And that we don't want to say that.
Okay.
Because that cannot be true. So we're putting that out on everybody. So I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You know, I know you've been in touch or in contact with some people, because when you go there and you speak to the parents, and they don't show up, right? Or they want to argue and fight with you, which kind of the same behavior your kids do. So those I understand, but we don't want to say that it sounds like a uniform thing.
Okay. He did go back to the program. Within that program, he had therapy. Okay. He had one-on-one therapy. We had therapy with me and therapy. They gave him coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
The tools to know how to
redirect his attention or
in anger.
Yep.
Or something else.
Mm-hmm.
And after second grade, I kept that going through after the program, through different things. We still had therapy. He was in the pandemic, he was on the phone, and he was on the therapy. And then when we got to this new school, which was, they did the same thing. So it was like
they did the same thing as far as tribalism or
tribalism.
Okay.
And then they allowed him to help he needed. So I had therapists coming to my house. Him dealing with phone therapy. He had a case look at that, vouch for him about this, and he still, we're not going to make it.
Right.
He was the one who,
right, and so I understand you, and I have it's disheartening, and I have a problem with that, especially if those adults don't have a degree in psychology or behavioral health, right? So if they're not certified in that, there's a problem with the labeling. The other thing is, we're talking about a child, so children are impressionable at those ages, and legally very well think that of themselves. When reality is, when reality is he just needs some direction, right? The great thing with you guys is that you got him into therapy, because unless we know psychology or behavioral health, when we see these different personalities, we're not going to know what to do. And that's the thing with being a parent, and I'm not a parent, right? But I have to raise three of my cousins, and because of the work that I've done, and I'm certified in behavioral health, so I have some insight, and I understand it's not the parent's fault, because we don't know about psychology. Right, so, and then we don't realize that there's such thing as therapists that can assist you in times of need. What can I do? Because you don't know how your child is, and you don't know what kind of information you give your child so that they can read that, right? So that is what society should do. That's what should be done for society as a whole. And then we will see a lot of these cases that were always a lot of that will be right. And then now we will have the actual bullies to focus on. Not putting a broad blanket and putting all children. Because as we can see, that's not it, right? Yeah.
And we got to speak up, boys. We got to understand, because this is something that, the reason I went to my grandson's school all the time is because she would go, but she was frustrated. And I'm like, I'm going to take some of this burden off her, because it's frustrating when you got to kind of go all the time.
Right.
But she would, in her frustration, and I was her mom, so I understand, because I used to be frustrated too.
Right.
But in the midst of our frustration, now we mad. How many times they calling me from my job to come get you? You getting on my nerves.
Right.
We forget to say, what happened? Right?
Because
now we angry. No, I'm a what happened. I'm the what happened, and I'm going to do it right there, because I want to make sure that,
right then and there.
I want to make sure when I go, I want to say to him what happened, and then, because they'll tell you what happened. I didn't ask you.
Right.
I asked him, Demetri, what happened?
Right.
And Demetri will say, what happened? And I say, oh, because that's not what y'all said happened. Y'all said that Demetri did X, Y, and Z, right? But then the boy, the other person, because was another person, gets to say what happened. 80% of the time, you playing with him, and now he hit you too hard, and now you hurt and you crying and you. And it's like my grandson now. My grandson now he thinks he's strong, right? Until some girl knocked the shit out of him, right? And the little girl goes, he did get beat up too. I wish it was daycare center, but it's just, I have stories too about these things. But I went to a daycare center, and they say he always mad, he's mean. So I went one day, he had scratches all over his face. And I said, oh. I looked at the teacher, I said, oh, so he got it today. And she pointed to a little girl. And I was like, oh, that little girl, pull your ass up, right? That's it. What I want to do. Yeah. You shouldn't be playing so much. He only won, though. He only won.
Right.
But you can't mess with little girls because they're going to take your ass up. So the next day he comes, I come pick him up. I came to pick him up, and he stood in front of this little girl, and he said, he looked at me, and he pointed at her. I said, oh, no, no, no. He looked at me, he just kept pointing like, that's her. Like, you here now. Like, I'm going to get her. I was like, oh, no, no, no. Right. But the little girl was like, what we doing? Like, they kids. It's not a bully. It's kids playing and girls beating up boys because we could.
Right. And that's a natural thing. You get what I'm saying? It's natural. The labels is not.
That's not.
And I implore all personnel in schools to get some type of certification, you know, whether it's on psychology or behavioral health, so that you can actually see the patterns for what they are, not label the child and say, okay, this is what we can do to get this child some help. The other thing is that some children, they're enterprising. They need to be in community programs, right? You know, back in the day, you know, Mama said, what happened to you do as I say? Some children don't think like that. And it's not because this is the new age thing, because children back in the day was the same thing, right? So when we think about abuse, some of these child abuse cases where they're always getting beat, probably because the child is like that, and the parent doesn't know. Parent just thinks you're defiant and not listening to me, so I'm just going to beat your ass. Not that then, because there's no information, we don't realize this is how the child thinks. We can't beat them, you know. And so that's where it becomes an abuse situation, right? In today's time with so much information, we should be on time to say, okay, maybe I need to look towards the psychology. Now, what therapy can I get to assist me in this household with my child to help me better understand my child? Some children receive these programs. You get what I'm saying? And our after-school programs, you give them, see what they do, and then up their position, give them their leadership positions, and watching them go to school. Or maybe they're responsible for cleaning up after them. Right. They need something like that. to direct their energy to something else, make them feel constructive, so that they can stay positive. That's really what a lot of these children need. Right? Yes. And it works. A lot of them are very important. And so you gotta remember in school, we gotta sit down for 8 hours. How long is lunch and recess? You understand what I'm saying?
I think changing classes now in the lower grades is one of the best things because remember we used to sit. Well, I don't know about y'all. I'm older than y'all.
Yeah.
We used to be in the same classroom like all day long, unless you went out to the gym. You know, and you need to be able to. Yeah. That's when you start changing. You couldn't wait to get to the ninth grade to go from class to class. And now they're doing it in middle school. Do you change classes? You go from class to class now? It's the same kind of. So y'all stuck in the same class, and you get bored.
Yeah. You know, some children. You gotta think about when we say
you don't get bored.
Well, school nowadays are fun.
What's fun about it, though?
Okay.
Like, what's fun about your student? What you get into school?
Or is it the layout of school as itself, is just so entertaining? So maybe you can't pinpoint one thing because that's the culture of it. Yeah, it could be that which is existing. You know, years ago, what European country was it? Switzerland? Lord forgive me, I forget which European country I read this about, where they said for school for kids, half the day is academia and the other half is recess. Mm-hmm. So the children are not in school for the most of them, right? And they found that has brought best results for the students in their school systems, right? Because part of who we are is creativity. Like all of this creativity that we're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Remember how many adults, like after a while, you just get tired of your regular job and you're like, okay, I'm doing it, I'm great at it, but there's something that's missing. Mm-hmm. And you find out happiness really up. And you know what? The labeling of our world, black world is particular. You know, that right there is, we have to keep an eye on that. Like our boys are here to do amazing things in this world. And I don't understand how society uses that because you want to make these boys docile and take away this energy that God has left them with. Who are they going to be in the world? What's going to change? You know, are they going to be the protectors, the vanguards that we need in society, or they're just going to be workers and, you know, doing what you tell them to do? Yeah, that's not what boys are doing. No. But
the real bully, the ones that they try to label that's not. I mean, there are some that label that are. And when it's not addressed, they grow up to be what we don't talk about that.
Absolutely.
So we will be right back